Good evening and welcome to Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation. It is Monday night all over again. I am your host, Donna Gray Banks, and it is my pleasure to have Victor McGlothin, author of Rules for Slaying the Dating Games, How to Reach Your Relationship Goals, and 22 additional books, television projects, and film. Victor, welcome to Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation. Thank you for being here tonight.
Well, I really appreciate it, Donna, and I've been looking forward to it. It seems like it's been years since we've seen each other. Then it seems
Has it
like
been
just
you?
yesterday.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we can
So,
always just drop in and catch up. So I
well,
appreciate you for
listen,
having me on.
maybe we'll all be together in February. That'd be very nice. So let's
I would,
keep those
I,
dates out there.
I would love that.
Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation is brought to you by Eyeless Diamonds LLC, Lee's Press, a Dante production whose jazz series continues at Cinematique on August 11th with Adam Kornecki. And the Fresh Book Festival, of course, is the 20th through the 22nd of February in the year of 2025. If you have any questions for Victor, please leave them in the chat room. And this conversation is being recorded. Good evening, Victor. Please take a moment and introduce yourselves to the audience.
Hey, thank you again, Donna, for having me on. And it's really nice to be on a fresh conversation. This is where real important people meet. So thank you for that. I see some of my other friends in the chat room, so it'd be good to talk to y'all too. Victor McGlothin, a Dallas native, and as Donna said previously, author of 23 titles, some film projects, TV projects as well. People who know me know that I'm going to bring it, and we'll debate it. This is a safe space. Every opinion is welcome.
Absolutely.
As hard as you can go, I'll follow.
So tell us about, when did you wake up? I know you did a corporate job. I know you did other things, but when did you wake up 22 novels later and say, this is when you woke up and said, this is what I really want to do. I want to just write.
Oh, most of the time I take that back. I was writing for the first 3 years. I was working full time for the first 3 years I started writing. And then
Right.
I took off about 5 years. I had a 4 book deal, then I had a 2 book deal, then a 3 book deal. So between deals, I used to go back in and tap into corporate marketing, content management, and see if there's anything out there for me. And usually, it's a good break, but then that itch always, calls me back. My last job was 5.5 years as a marketing director for a law school in Dallas. And I walked away from that in August. And since then, been doing more writing. Also created the podcast, What's Up, Vic, and also YouTube channel, What's Up, Vic, where we get to talk about life, relationships, and just real stuff.
Yeah. And so when you're balancing the corporate life and writing, writing always loses. Right, because you have to have dedicated time for that. So hats off to you. I know that we can go back into corporate anytime, and if you have to, you have to. But for right now, being an entrepreneur and a writer is just a wonderful place to be. It really is.
Yes, it is.
So we're going to talk briefly about you were married many years, and you recently got remarried. Was
Yes.
it during your single life before or your single life in the middle that you decided to tackle the topic of relationships, or have you been doing it all along and just never put it all together?
Yeah, it's a very good question. When I visited with you at the F.R.E.S.H conference the last time or the time before that, and I've, like I said, some of my other friends I see in the chat room, after we talk about my novel, there seems to be a lot of questions from young ladies about relationships. Some of the relationships that happen in the book and some of the relationships that they're going through, or they'll say, my friends got this problem. And we and we
Not
all
me,
know
my
that.
friend.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Somebody,
yeah,
somebody I know down at the
yeah,
job.
yeah. Down the street.
Yes. But that they would always say, it seems that you really have a grasp on relationships. I have an issue. What do you think about it? And this has been happening for 25 years. About 15 years ago, I don't know if you remember, when Facebook was really starting to, become a
Yeah.
big thing. And so I did a Victor Said every Friday morning for a year.
Wow.
So people, yeah, women would send in submissions. I have this issue, this concern, this question about relationships. Should I approach this guy on my job? Should I date at the job? There's this guy in my building, and every morning we catch the train at the same time, and I find myself being downwind because I love his cologne. Should I say something to this brother? And so all those kinds of questions would come up, and I would answer them online for a full year every Friday. And then when I finished writing a book that we'll talk about in just a second, I said, I'm getting so many calls and so many DMs, and women will stop me in the street, stop me at
Ah,
dinner,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and say, Victor, I got this relationship issue. You know, and what's funny is they would always say, "What's up, Vic?" And that's when I knew something was coming. So and that's why I titled my podcast that and my channel, because they would say, "What's up, Vic?" And I knew they were going to come in with the questions. And then after they did, we dig into it. And so, I mean, thousands and thousands of questions. So one day I woke up and said, I need to incorporate everything that I've learned about relationships, all the
Yeah.
advice I've given about relationships, and I mean, because in my last marriage, I went to 5 marriage counselors. So all the things I learned during those counseling sessions, I put it all in the book.
And all your babies are grown and graduated by now, yes?
Yes, I have
Yes,
two
that's
sons,
wonderful.
25, 27. They're both engineers doing well.
Oh, very good, very good. And
Yeah.
so even the podcast I want you to do with me is 50, 60, 70. What do you do now?
Okay. Are we
You
talking
know
about
what
relationships?
I mean?
Relationships?
Age, right,
Oh,
exactly.
yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's a little different from 30, 40, 20, 30, 40, 50,
Right.
60, 70. Yeah, that's a whole new dynamic, right? On
Right.
how
Yeah.
you put
In my
relationships.
book, in my book, I don't even address 20s and 30s.
Oh, okay, good. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Because you
But
make so
because
many mistakes at 20 and 30, first of all. So,
come on now. And then you can't tell them anything because they
right,
feel like whatever they're going to do is going to be the right thing until it isn't.
right. Yeah, you're
So
right.
I want to meet people who've already made numerous mistakes and
Right.
really have defined who they are and what they want in relationships. Because a lot of the younger people, men and women, especially women, I want him to be this height and this skin tone and have this amount of hair and this amount of beard and drive this kind of car. The unfortunate part is when you have women in their 50s and 60s doing the same thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy, right? I mean, I'm an equal opportunity color person, so it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Because I think a person is genuine if you're 5'7" or 6'4". It doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? It's the
If,
person
if
behind all the
if
words.
more women thought like if more I'll say this, if more, because I don't know about white women, if more black women thought like that, more black women would be married.
That's probably true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because I hear it all the time. I hear 60-year-olds talking about I've never been married, but I'm still holding on to my dream man who's 6 feet, makes 6 figures out of 6 pack. I'm like, I don't know many 60-year-old guys with a 6 pack. So you can take that right off the list.
I know zero. Zero, zero. No, there are a few, but 60, you kind of start slowing down your endeavors to
Metabolism.
be perfect,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you just decide at 60. That's the sad part. At 60, that's when you decide to be okay with yourself. Really?
Yes.
That's
But
great.
there are so many women at that age who are still looking for this quintessential fine, godly man and has got all this stuff going for him. And it's like, okay, some of those are out there and they do exist, but most of them are married.
I love Stella Got a Groove Back, but that book just took people to another dimension. It's a good book though. It's a good book though,
Yes,
but
it's,
yeah,
it's a good read.
she was older, not
Yes.
as old, but going into that situation. So tell me what is the topic that most want to talk about when it comes to relationships? We know communication is key, but is that one of them?
No, not at all.
That's
No, the things that come up, I'll say the top two are
okay.
why won't men approach me when I'm out? And why won't men just step up and be more intentional about what they want? That's kind of 1A and 1B. And the secondary thing is, why are people expecting me to step up and be more responsive and initiate relationships? Because guys are sitting back staring at me all night, but they're not speaking. They're not approaching me to come over and get to know my name. And then if they do, they really don't have much to say. They're expecting me to lead this thing, and that's not the design. That's not the order of it. So
I
those
think
are the
it's
questions.
I think a lot of it though is that women run in tribes. And it's
Yes,
hard for a man to come across the room. What if you say something crazy like, I don't know what you would say, but maybe to, I don't know. So
No,
it's
I
hard.
think it's
It's hard
I
for a
think it's
man. Yeah.
I think it's a great lead in because I talk about it all the time. So I'm glad you said it. What men call them are herds or packs. You say tribes. We
Right.
call them
'Cause
herds or packs.
most women who are together are tribal in things like they like the certain same type of things. So I call it a tribe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so here's the deal. If a man hypothetically sees a woman who is attractive, he's interested, likes her vibe, checking out her wardrobe and everything's good, but she's with two or three other women.
Right.
A lot of guys don't feel enough,
Confident.
confidence and courage to, like you said, trek across that room, say, and think about it, because these other women gonna be looking on. How you doing, ladies? Speaks to everyone, of course, first, and says, "But ma'am, there's something about you. I'd really like to get to know you. Can you step over here for a second? So we can talk?" If she says no, if her
Yeah.
girlfriend roll their lips up, roll their eyes, roll their neck, he's got to go all the way back across the room. Now, most men have experienced that at
Right.
least once
At
and don't
least.
want to experience it again.
Right. On the
Right.
dance
So,
floor is even worse.
yeah,
So
yes,
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
You know, they out there and they jamming and they love the
Yeah.
song, and you ask them, "Can I join in? You want to dance?" No, I'm good.
Right. That's worse. It's worse. It's worse.
So, so that's what a lot of men have to deal with. So when I talk to women, I did a singles group on Sunday evening, Saturday evening, and then yesterday did another podcast in the I think DC area, and I get a lot of the same questions. So women in their late 40s, 50s, I think a little more receptive. Women in their late 50s or early 60s are saying, "I just can't do that." And I said, well, think about it. If what you're doing isn't working and you want to reach your relationship goals and you want to meet a better class of man or the kind of class of man that you're interested in, then you might want to consider uh, just dancing around the edges of how you already do your business. I didn't write the book to tell Black women to be different or to
Right.
do. I just put in 600 plus rules of things that might benefit you when you're dating. That's it. Just some things to consider.
And is the consideration broke down? How's it broken? Let's jump to the book. So how is it? Show us a copy of it, please.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Hey, rules for
Yes,
slaying the dating games, how to reach your relationship goals. So
that's right.
is it comprehensive that you take notes? Is it a note-taking type of book?
It is a book that, okay, it's broken down into 14 sections and there's 66 chapters. And you see, it's only about 250 pages, so it's not a very big book, but there's a lot of insight. It's you're gonna laugh, you're gonna circle things, you're gonna highlight, you're gonna underline, you're gonna dog ear, you're gonna call your girlfriends and say, "Look at what this dude said about us." And then a lot of times already, women. The book came out in February. A lot
Yes.
of women have said, I'm only up to chapter 4. And I started doing some of the things you suggested, and it's making a difference. Guys that I've seen out before never approached me. I did a couple of things you suggested, and now guys are smiling at me, and I meet more guys now. And some of them had to really step outside of themselves. But others were like, with guys I know, guys that are in my circle, I could be cool all day with them. I could be chummy, I could be flirty, but with guys I think are really attractive, I can't do it. And I
Right.
said, just do the inverse. Just pretend that you already know them. Now y'all just need to get reacquainted.
Yeah, that's hard. Well, that can be hard too, right? It can be
Yeah.
hard. If there are three major concerns for men besides money,
Mhm.
let's talk about that for a minute. And that's not even one of your questions. But when I'm dating even at my age, I feel I have to not be concerned about his wallet, but considerate of his wallet,
Very
right?
thoughtful.
Right. And I don't think is that the norm or that's not the norm?
Um, Women who have been married before, I find women who have been married before are a lot more considerate of a
Okay.
man's wallet. Women who have not been married before are like, if he's going to pursue me, he's got to pay. It's got to cost him something. It's got to be a financial understanding. So my question to them is it transactional? And if it is transactional, as long as he's spending money on you, then what does he get out of it? Because it
Right.
can't be just spending time with you. That's
Right.
not enough. I'm not saying it has to be sex, but there's a great distance between just spending time with you and spending his money and sex. There's a lot of in between. So what I'm learning is women who haven't been married, they don't even know what they don't know about the kind of relationship it takes to get married. So they have cousins, sisters, moms that have been married, but weren't really, or didn't seem to be, I'll say that, didn't seem to be all that interested in the nuts and bolts of a relationship. It was
Mm.
more of, what can I get from him? So I asked women, are you a taker? Because all you're telling me is how much money guys need to spend on you. Are you a taker?
And
And
they
if you're a taker, you're going to meet guys who probably lead with their money until they feel like they get what they feel like they deserve out of the relationship, and usually it's sex. And then they go and use their money to meet and date other women.
how do you feel about manifestation?
I'm a mass believer in it. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be doing the stuff I do if I didn't believe in manifestation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
So yeah, so I tell women, and it's funny because I'm talking to more women than I ever have. And I tell women all the time, I want you to really consider and think about what you want in a man, what you want in a relationship, what do you want in a man and slash friend that you want a mate. What do you want in your mate? And then I want you to write all those things down and then turn that sheet over and then write down the deal breakers.
Do you do that for men too?
And me
Or
talking to
just
men
it's like talking
now
to the wall. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
and it's heartbreaking, but I have close friends, about 10 guys, and we talk. Four of them, no, three of them were married. Three of them two of us have just got married, and three other ones are engaged. So I'd like to think that I'm rubbing off
Right.
because I'm,
That all
yeah,
happened after your
yeah,
situation? Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think when men start to, especially men in my circle, when they start to see the benefits in having a wife, and because they all complain about this woman, she's begging all the time. This woman only wanted this woman only wanted that, this woman's unrealistic, I can't stand this woman who. And I was like, well, why don't you just pick one and live happily ever after? And they would always laugh at me and say, oh, whatever, it was only because you've been married for 24 years. And then when I got divorced, and they was like, okay, so now you're going to date freely and hook up with all these different chicks. I said, no, I'm not going to hook up. I'm going to take them to Starbucks. And I'm going to take them to Starbucks, and that's the initial interview. And if I like them and they like me, then we'll go to lunch and then we'll go shoot pool. I said, I don't take anybody to dinner in the first 3 days. That's just not going to happen. Because I feel like anybody can take you to dinner, pull out a wallet, pull out a card, swipe it, and
Right.
everyone's on their best behavior, which is unrealistic. I don't want your representative. I want you to have a latte, a tea, or a panini at Starbucks, kick back, and I'll find out who you really are.
Nice.
Yeah, and it
And
served me well.
yeah. And so after, have you ever had anybody say Starbucks? Or have they
Oh,
come pretty willingly? Oh, okay. No?
no,
Yes?
I've had 3 or 4 that said, I don't do Starbucks or I don't drink coffee. And I said, well, they have water, they have tea, they have desserts. But what you really want at Starbucks is me. You want
Right.
me at Starbucks across the table so that we could get to know each other. We could have open and honest communication. And 3 of them said, no, I think that's one said, I think it's cheap. I said, well, I'm not a cheap person. I'm a very generous person, but this is my program. And if you want to be a part of my program, this is the first step. And she's like, no. And another woman said, I don't think you value me if you don't get this. You don't value me if you don't take me to a fine restaurant. And I said, okay. And then I forgot what the third woman said, but it was somewhere in between. I don't think a man looks at you favorably if he's not really pursuing you if he wants to take you to Starbucks. And so for those 3, once I started dating the young lady that I married, I was getting on my DM was blowing up. So how did she get a trip to Miami? So how y'all at the Super Bowl? How y'all at Las Vegas? How? I said, she's the kind of woman that said, yeah, Starbucks is cool with me if it means I get to know you.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, that's a question further on. Was it after 3 dates? Was it after 6 months after you met this young lady that you knew that she was the keeper?
I knew she was different right off. We talked on the phone for 2 or 3 hours, And then the next day, talked on the phone 2 or 3 hours. The next day, 4 hours. And I said, and I told two of my best friends, Eric and Earl, I said, guys, if this woman is half of what I think she is, there's no point in me dating anybody else. They were like, no, dude, you're stupid. You just got out of a long, marriage. There's women on Facebook that want to date you. I got cousins who want to date you. There's women asking me about you. And I said, that's not who I am. I already know what I need, especially after a long, bad marriage. I know what I need. Trying to get what I want is not important.
Well, it wasn't bad. It was complicated, but you learned a lot of lessons,
It was
right?
bad. It was bad. Bad, bad, bad.
Bad, bad.
You know, I learned I, lear- I
I
learned
love
a lot about myself. I learned a
right.
lot about life. I learned a lot about courtship and friendship within marriage. So I learned an awful lot. And I said, well, we went to 5 marriage counselors during that 24 years. So there was an awful lot that I picked up. And I told the young lady that I'm married to now, Yvette, I said, whoever gets the next Victor is going to get the best Victor, because I pride myself on trying to be an exceptional person, an exceptional friend, an exceptional everything, exceptional dad, that using everything what I know about relationships. Oh, shit, she's going to get a good one. And she said, you know what? My dad always told me, get a guy who wants to be his best self for you.
Yeah, yeah. Or wants more for you than he wants for himself, or
Yes.
something to that nature, right?
No,
As
but that's
opposed,
right.
yeah, as opposed
Yeah.
to being always in conflict about who does what or who gets what,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. Wanting the best for each other. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. And that's what I have. We've known each other 4 years. So I asked her to marry me last year, and I told her I had a ring 2 years ago.
Okay.
And she thought I was joking. I said, no, I bought you a ring. We just need to get a little further down the line. And she said, yeah, yeah, yeah. Guys always tell girls they got the ring to get them to act right.
Step up in line.
I said,
But I
you
mean,
are
yeah.
acting. I said, you are acting right. I just need there's some other things I need to know about us and see if we can really get there. So
Let's talk about how much you unpacked on your first date at Starbucks, right? Okay,
yeah,
so this is this scenario, right? What if I say I would rather do Panera Bread? Do you have a problem with that?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
You said Starbucks. I say
Right.
Panera Bread.
Same thing. Same
Okay, you
thing.
wouldn't matter. Okay, okay.
Mhm. So
So
you're saying, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
You're saying if you suggested that,
I'm saying we're sitting there at Starbucks, or I would prefer Panera Bread, right? Because I don't like Starbucks. But how much do you unpack in that 45? Is it 45 minutes to an hour? Because within an hour whether you're going to do another Starbucks, pretty much.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you ask me kind of things that I unpack, I like to talk about what's important to you in a relationship. Are you the type of woman who wants to be married? How, like, the kinds of questions I ask women to ask men, I'm asking them same things. As a woman, do you want to get married? What do you think about marriage? When was your last
That's the
relationship?
first day at Starbucks?
And heck
Oh,
yes.
really? Okay.
You, Donna, you almost made me cuss. Yes. I've been telling women for 25 years, you don't have to ask a man, are you interested in marrying me? But you should ask him, can you ever see yourself being married? And women are like, they grasp their pearls and say, "Oh no, I'll chase him away." Well, if a man runs away after you ask him that, he was going to run away anyway. He was a weak one and never was going to make the end of the trip. So I was asking her, "Do you see yourself a wife? What do you think that means to you? Well, was your mom married? Was your dad? Your dad? How long did they stay together? How many times have they been married? What do you think about it?" So
So you're
and she
straight to
said,
the chase. You're straight to, okay, you're very intentional. We can sit here all day, but let's ask the pertinent questions and not really worry about, whether you like Disneyland. Because
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I might ask, "Where do you like to vacation?"
Hmm.
But before I care about if you like to vacation, I want to know if you want a husband to be on your vacation.
With you.
With me, yes, very intentional.
Yeah.
But that's how I'm built. I'm made that way. And I told her, she said, "I like you. You're different." And she said it, "You're intentional. You seem like you're really serious about finding a mate." I said, "I don't know if it's going to happen this year, next year." I said, "But I will be married again, and I will be in a happy, healthy relationship." And so, of course, she
Easier
didn't know
being
me.
married. It's easier being married. It's easier to kind of navigate the waters. I think even though I really don't believe that should be the case, but
Right.
even in corporate, I think that when a woman is not married, it hinders her direction and where she goes, and a man too,
Right.
because if you're married, supposedly you're not uh, able to be coerced into doing something maybe stupid, right? So yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and guys do it all the time. But because Yvette didn't know me, she said, I didn't know whether to believe you. I didn't know if you were selling fantasies, to get up under my skirt. And she didn't know. She didn't know who I was. She didn't know I was a writer. She didn't know I was a filmmaker. She didn't know any of that. She said, I knew you were a cute guy that I would see with this other guy sometimes. And yeah, in the same circles, but never really met. And then I
Right.
think because she was dating someone when I got divorced or when I got separated, and then they had broken up. So I said, okay, she's available. Let me see how I can be introduced to her. And that's what I did. But she didn't believe me. She said, you were too good to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's frightening when it happens, when the stars align and you're like, oh, wait a minute. There's
Yeah.
there's there's a red flag down here somewhere. I'm looking for it. And do we look for those too often? Right from the jump?
Well, I think women that have been burned a lot are
Mm.
quick to say the last guy or this other guy who did this to me sounds a lot like you. And he was too intentional too soon. He
Mhm.
was too upfront. So therefore I couldn't believe him. I couldn't trust him. And it turns out that I was right. And I'm glad you're talking about this because this is important. I told her it's unfair for me to expect you to carry my ex-wife's bags. And I'm not going to carry your ex-boyfriend's bags. So if you still have some healing to do, then we need to, revisit this 6, 9 months later.
So
And
you really don't want to unpack anything from
I don't
before.
want no, I'll unpack everything, but
Okay.
I don't expect anyone else to carry those bags for me. My ex did this. Okay, so now put that on you. Her ex did this, so now she puts that on me. I don't believe in that at all.
How much do you unpack, Victor?
We'll talk about what if you're asking me what we'll talk about as far as my past relationships,
Right.
anything's open. Anything's open.
And there's no such thing as too much right at the
Of course
beginning.
there No, of course there is. But if I'm not getting the responses that I think I want or I'm looking for, if the feedback loop isn't sustained, if she's not responding with the same types of questions and answers, then I know it is too much, and I'll pull back. Or I'll ask, is there something you really want to talk about other than this? Because you seem unnaturally quiet, or is this too much for? Am I overwhelming you?
I listen, I think communication is so important. I'm a
Mhm.
communicator, and so well, my friends tell me I'm not a communicator. I think I am, but a lot of writers aren't, right? We think we are, but we're really not.
Right.
Um, I don't, I think that when you communicate, I think if you can have the same conversations over the phone that you can have at Starbucks. And so you could know pretty much before you get there. Do you think the phone conversations are really important? Do you
Oh,
think
of
people
course.
open up more because there's a distance between you as opposed to being right in your face?
Yeah, I really think that women especially open up a lot more on the phone. They share a lot more. I think once a woman feels comfortable talking to a man, she'll start talking to him like she talks to her girlfriends.
Right.
Yeah, and it happens. I'll have conversations with female friends of mine, and deep in it, they'll say, "Girl," and I mean Victor. I'm sorry, girl,
Right.
and
I've
they'll
done that. I've done that.
because that's when they are extremely comfortable with you. So I don't take it as an offense. I laugh and say that means you're really letting your guard down.
5 things that are the worst things that a woman could do in the beginning of a relationship, and 5 things that it's worst things that a man could do in the beginning of a relationship.
Um, for a woman and man, I'll say lie.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And then of course people know you're lying, even though you don't, or
Right.
it comes out that you're lying. The second, which is two for two, is being what is it called? Unreliable, ghosting, so to speak. You tell me you're going to be here at 7, or I'm going to get a call at 7:30 and it's 10 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry, I got caught up. Okay, you're not going to get too many of those, because after the first time, it's a mistake. After the second time, it's a choice. And if you're putting other things in front of me, it just means other things are more important. I'm not going to get upset about it. I just remove myself. Say the third thing that I think a woman could do in making a mistake early on, or the worst thing she could do, is plan very expensive dates. I want you to take me to this restaurant. Now there's going to be this exclusive concert. I need to go. Okay, now there's this other thing I want to go, and everything's $200, $300, $400. And it's like, we're just getting to know each other. And I don't mind doing these things. Heck, you might see me there if I don't take you. But
Right.
but to say you want to be on my arm and I need to buy the tickets and I'm just getting to know you, so yeah, I think a lot of women price themselves right out of relationships and disqualify themselves. Number 4 for women is, if a man says this is important to me, and she says, you tripping, you just being a man. That's a problem. And I think the fifth thing will probably be not being a woman of substance. Because what men are going to do who are serious about dating, we're going to vet you. We're going to look on Facebook and see how many friends you have in common, or how many people they can have access to, and say, I met Donna. How is she really? How is she once you get to know her? Is she a nice person? Is she thoughtful and kind? Does she fly off the handle real fast? Does she date dumb guys? They're going to want to know those kind of things. And so a lot of women either tell too much or talk too much about their exes, what didn't go right. So when you talk about unpacking, if men feel like you're unloading on us and about men in general, then we're going to say, okay, then how long is it before she starts thinking about me like that? Is she a man eater? Is she a man hater? What is it about her? So yeah, no, men who are serious will vet you. So there's probably, Donna, are you married?
No.
Okay, so there's probably at least 5 guys right now, Donna, asking somebody about you.
Right.
Just believe it.
Yeah.
And the guys who get a good report are probably gonna, slide in your DM, find a way to email you, show up at one of your events. That's what's gonna happen. So we already talked about 2
I
of the
hope
things.
not, because I can't pay attention to anybody at those events. I hope they come some other way.
Well, you know what?
I'll be like,
And
hey,
if
how you doing? That's it.
you know what? And I'm glad you said it, because if someone says, I've been at a couple of events and you just seem like you're really distracted, and it's good, that's a good time for you to tell them, when I'm event, I'm facilitating, and I got to make sure that everything flows. So if you really want to talk to me, then yeah, you can call me or hit me up online, or if friends that we have in common, mutual friends, then try to approach me that way. And I think guys will understand it. So I'm glad you said something about it.
So the number is on your Facebook page, your phone number, right? Is that an open invitation? Your phone number, not yours. I'm just saying, this is just hypothetical. So
Okay.
the phone number is on your Facebook page. Do you just call it? I mean, is that, I don't know.
Well, if you're interested in me.
No. If you were interested to get to know me, right? So my phone number is on the Facebook page.
Yes.
Right. Would you call that person from the number on the Facebook?
I would not call, but I would most certainly text. Because I think calling someone who isn't expecting it is kind of off-putting. And whoever knows what's a good time. They might even be interested in you, and you call them at the wrong time. And they're tied up. And it comes across that they're disinterested when they're really just tied up. If you text them, then they receive the text, they get a chance to look at it and look at it again. And if they know who you are, then smile about it and maybe tell a girlfriend, girl, he texts me. And then after a while, when it's convenient for you, then you can reply.
You think women talk too much about the relationships?
Some women do. I think women who disqualify themselves, what I say is men talk too much and women tell too much. I've been saying that since I was in college, and it's still true today.
Okay, talk too much, tell too much. What's the difference?
Yeah, men talk too much. Men talk about how much money I make, how good I am in bed, how much women like me, how good I am at this and that. Women tell too much about themselves, which allows men to draw an opinion, whether it's correct or incorrect, very soon. So, men are very judgmental about that kind of thing. She talked so much about money and the guy who didn't take her this place, or the guy she dated that got away that had this great job, or the guys who approach her, want to buy her flowers all the time and spend money on her. What you're doing is you're telling us that's what you're expecting, and that's what you expect from us. So men can make up their minds early on without even really getting to know you. It's not the kind of woman I want to be around. I certainly not the kind of woman I want in my life. So yeah, y'all tell too much.
You all talk about whatever, basketball or whatever, right? But you don't really tell anything, or do you?
No, men are very careful to talk about to women, talk about exploits and how well we're doing in the dating game.
No, I
We are
mean,
very
how about your boys? Do they?
they're more secretive than me. Yeah, they'll meet two, three different women, and the women will say, "Okay, so are you seeing anybody?" Yeah, I'm kind of seeing somebody. And until they get comfortable with her, they won't go anywhere past that. You know, I think I'm not your stereotypical male because I want everything out on the table. When I was single, I say, look, I'm seeing 5 women and not serious about either one of them. And I don't want to make it sound like this, but if you want to be in my rotation or get on my calendar, then say that. If you're not fine with that and you feel like you're sharing while you're getting to know me, that's fine too. We could be friends, we could be acquaintances, we could still be cool.
What if I tell you you're in my rotation? What does that make you feel about me?
Two things. Okay. Ooh,
Now,
I
see,
love you.
that's really, like I have said, listen, I kind of, got some things going on, but we'll see. Let's make, have a conversation. But when you say that, men back up.
A lot of men will bristle
Yes.
because
Like
because
clutching
most
your pearls.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
right.
because most men want to think they're the only suitor. They're the only one interested in you. They're the only one that you could be interested in. No, so I suggest you continue to tell men that, because the kind of guys who you really want are the ones who become more aggressive, because we see it as competition. Oh, you seeing other guys? Okay, well, let me see how long it'll take before that stops. You
Oh,
know,
right. But
yes.
you think that's the answer you normally get or no?
For me, when I ask a women that, oh,
No, what average guy, right? So he says, Donna, are you, could we get together? And I said, yeah, we can, but I really, my calendar is on my desk and I don't have it with me. And so can I, circle back? You're like, what?
yeah, most men, I think, to be honest with you, most men are going to shy away
Right.
because they're.
Tell me why I'm not married.
I don't want to say because they're weak, because that's not the right word, not the right
Right.
word.
No, week is not the
Um, yeah, they don't have the confidence or the fortitude to say, "Wow, this woman might be worth fighting for." Instead, it was like, she thinks she this, she thinks she that, which is the default. She thinks she's high maintenance. She thinks she's no. She's being honest with you, and you can't handle it. That's the
Yeah,
truth. And you don't want a guy like that anyway.
right. For
Yeah.
sure.
So I'm dating. And I would tell women, I suggest you date too. Until or unless we decide that we're going to be exclusive.
Let's talk about the
So
90-day rule. Now I'm 70 years old. I ain't got 90 days. Nothing, a lot can happen in 90 days, right? At a certain age. So I mean, do you believe in the 90-day rule? Do you think that that's a thing?
I don't subscribe to that. I was married in college. I was married my senior year in college. Stayed married 2.5 years. Um, and then my second marriage, it was kind of the same thing. The women that I date, that I fall for, that fall for me, there's the vibe is so strong that there ain't no way we're gonna end up exploding if we wait 90 days. So I suggest that you go by what feels natural to you and what makes sense. If you're with this guy and he's answering the phone, answering your text, he's pleasant to be around, he's a gentleman, makes you feel pretty about yourself. If he's doing those things and y'all get together and you trust him, why not? Even if it's 7 days.
Let's talk about sexual protection. How long
Mhm.
does that last?
Uh, I always say until you're exclusive.
And you
So
asked that
if
question?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, so I think until you're exclusive, and if you're serious about being exclusive, there's just not going to be 2 weeks and you say, "Yeah, I want to be exclusive." No, somebody's playing, probably. Because how do we even know in 2 weeks that you're going to feel the same way in 2 months or for 3 months? So I think until y'all are exclusive and it's down the road, I think
Mhm.
the sexual protection, I think is necessary. And I've
So
had,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, Don, I've had women that say, I don't like condoms. So my follow-up always, so um, you don't demand that men use condoms. And when she said no, I'm like, oh, you never get this.
Right?
Yeah, nah,
You
you
can
have
take
just
that home.
you
Go
just
ahead.
disqualified yourself.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's you nasty. I don't
So okay, so let's talk about that. So single women who have condoms, right? Do you think every single woman should carry condoms just in case?
I think every woman who's dating should always have condoms either in her purse or in her car. Just
You
like
hear
I
that,
think
everybody? In your purse and in your car. Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, I when I started dating, it was the same thing. If I didn't have, and I told my sons when they went to college, if you don't have condoms on your person, when you need to have condoms in your car, because what'll happen is you'll say, "I'll just take this chance. I don't have any condoms, but we really in the heat of the moment." Well, if you don't have condoms, you already lost the battle, and then people who get heated and lose our responsibility, they're gonna make mistakes that's gonna hurt somebody. So if I didn't have them in my pocket on dates, I had them in my car. So sometimes I'd have to put my clothes put my clothes back on and run out to the car. Maybe I'll be right back. Hold on, because what we're not gonna do is act like we married.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So who says the man says when it's exclusive? Who brings up that conversation?
the women should bring it up, and I think
Oh,
women do
what?
bring it up.
Okay.
Women bring it up more than men because
Why?
I think women are more intentional about being mates and married. Yeah, I don't think men are as intentional. And we're talking generalities, of course, about being mates and being married. Most of the guys I know, my age group, I'm 57. Most of the guys in my age group, their relationship, them reaching relationship goals is getting a woman in the bed. For
Even at
most of those,
57,
for most of those guys, they ain't thinking
right?
about having a serious relationship. They ain't thinking about long
Because
term.
they've
They thinking
already
about
had a serious relationship. They've already been married. Their
no,
children are grown. What? Oh
no,
no? Okay. What are you
no.
talking?
These are just 50, 60-year-old men who want to continue to sleep with as many women as possible. That's
Oh.
it. I mean, it's sad, but it's true. And most of the guys I know are that way.
When you're having it, I gotta check the time because I want this to go on Instagram. You know, they will shut you down if it's more than an hour. Um, when you're having a conversation with a gentleman, you just met him, and a couple of conversations on the phone, and all of a sudden it turns sexual. Is that it? That's off.
Yeah, I would run
Yeah.
because he's telling you what he's interested in. But like on the other side
A
of that
flip
same
side.
coin, there are so many women now who seem sexually charged, hypersexually charged, which is scary. Because when I got married, you'd almost have to convince a woman to take her panties off. But by the time I got divorced, 24, 25 years later, women I met were like, okay, so when was the last time you had sex and what's your favorite position? And I'm like, okay, is this a joke? Where's the camera? But they were serious, and do you have erectile function or dysfunction problem? And I'll be like, okay, first of all, I don't, but if I did, I wouldn't tell you. I'm just meeting you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it,
yeah,
the date game is different now. It's different.
it is so different. It is
Yeah.
so different. When I have a conversation and then, the next conversation, you're like, so Donna, what's up with you in the bed? What? Shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little too much to unpack at first. So let's go back to the book because we're running out of time. So, and I want
Okay.
to do this again because there's too much to talk about. Too much to
It
talk
is.
about. In the book, when you go through your components, you said there's 8 chapters. How many chapters?
There's 14 sections and
Okay.
55 chapters. Like I'll
If
just
you're
read
looking
some.
at now, listen, if you're looking at the book and you really want people to get honed in, right?
Mhm.
What is the first chapter you think they should go to?
I think they should begin at the beginning.
Oh,
I set it up specifically to take someone who is interested in dating, either haven't dated in a while, is a widow, divorced, or recent divorce, or divorced years ago, or from a breakup. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do differently than you did? Because whether it was 5 months ago, 5 years ago, that might be a vast difference on how you handle yourself, how you purport yourself going forward. And some women have been married for a long time and haven't dated in years. They're like, Victor, I don't know how to do this. And I say, great, then you need to get this book, because it breaks down all of that from the very beginning. At the singles ministry I was at the other night, one woman she stayed on the first page. It was the first page before the chapters. It was what I call the introduction. And
She's on
no,
the intro.
she had it highlighted and underlined and had notes and was writing in the margin. And I kept trying to read. She's like, I don't want you to read. I just want to tell you what I want you to know. And the third paragraph says, the current dating scene is characterized by diversity, flexibility, and adaptability. People are seeking various experiences, from casual encounters to long-term commitments and everything in between. The key to successful dating in this era is understanding your preferences and intentions while respecting those of your potential partners. She said, I read it so many times because she said, I realized I didn't know what I wanted in a man. I have an idea of what I wanted in a man, but I really didn't know. I was looking at this 25-year-old list I had before my last husband. And she said, on paper, my last husband would have hit enough marks for me to marry him. He made money. He was tall. He was a provider. He paid the bills. She said, but all of those, what I have now are deal breakers, all the things that should go on your nuance list. She said he didn't have any of them. He wasn't caring. He wasn't thoughtful. He wasn't sweet to me. He didn't say nice things to me. He thought paying the bills, and
Was
coming home,
enough. Right.
well, it was enough. Aren't you happy? No, she wasn't. She wasn't happy for years. So she said she had to really go and decide what was important to her. Not what she thought she wanted. I wanted him to look or smell like. What was important to her? And so I gave her a high five. I said, that's why that's the third chapter, the third paragraph on page 1.
Wow.
Because it is that important to know who you are and what you want before you jump out there.
So you truly believe in the list of what you
I
want,
believe I
what you
believe in
don't
throwing
want,
I
and the
believe in
deal.
throwing that down. I believe in throwing that list in the trash.
Oh, really? Okay.
Throw that whole list in the trash. And I say that because after being divorced, I went to my marriage. I went to a therapist, and I said, these are the things I feel like I need to, really get over and push away from my life, and in order to go forward without, resentment and all this, with the bitterness I got going on, and can't believe that she wouldn't do this and couldn't get it. So she said, when you're looking for your next woman, because you say you're going to get married again, you have your list of what she needs to be and how she needs to act. Yeah, I said, yeah. She said, throw that list in the trash. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. That's my
Ah,
Bible. Yeah,
touch
yeah.
my pearls.
There's no way. How else am I going to know if that's her if I don't have the list? She said, I'm telling you. She said, you have your list with you? And I said, no, but I could write it out. And I just zoom, 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 zoom. She said, now turn it over. She said, now what is your deal breaker list? And my deal breaker list was 4 or 5 things that I don't care how beautiful you are, how well you do in business, what your body looks like, how you can rock it in bed. If these 3 or 4 things or 5 things are that are on my deal breaker list are part of your personality, I don't care how good that other stuff is, we're not gonna make it.
Right.
And she was right. So that helped, and that also helps women to disqualify guys who not gonna make it anyway.
And it narrows the path.
It does. And it makes it easier to spot people that don't belong in your life. Instead of, but he's so cute, but he's so fine, but he doesn't treat you well.
All right, everybody, there got to be a part 2 because we didn't hit any of the questions that I wrote. So we're going to bring you back in a couple of weeks and do a part 2. Please tell the audience how to get copies of, oh, Mama Tony said she wouldn't survive in the dating scene as it is now. Copies of this book and all your other published products.
Okay, so this book, Rules for Slaying the Dating Games, How to Reach Your Relationship Goals. And of course, this book, How to Write a 90-Day Novel. You know, it's my new one. I forgot what it was called before, but I went through it and said, I think I could tell people how to do things better because I write my books in 90 days.
Oh,
And I have the first 3 or 4 books took me a year and a half, 9 months, but the last 18 or 19 books, 90 days. And if
period.
I could do it, yeah, if I could do it, other people could do it too. So they
And
could get them on. Go ahead.
they're all on Amazon, or you want them to go directly to your email or your website, or what do you want?
Well, yes, I prefer they go to Amazon for them.
Okay.
I think in September I'm going to come out with something else, and then people who, if they want any of the books that I have that are autographed, I think I'll be able to do that. But I can't do it right now because I'm so busy.
Right.
But if you see me on the road, I've had women bring 12, 13 copies of my books and say, "Oh, can you mind signing these?" And I would say, where are we gonna do this? You got the pen, let's go. Because I know what it means for someone to like your work enough to
Right.
purchase it, and then to like it enough to ask for an autograph.
Right.
Because we've seen authors that are like, "I'm busy right now. I'm not signing this right now."
I
And
don't take anybody for granted. I just don't. You know,
right. And I want to choke
if
them.
I
I
can't
want to
do
choke.
it right this second, I'll take it with me, and
Yes,
sign it and bring it back. Yeah, for sure.
yes. Let's walk and talk. And while I'm signing, you telling me who you are and where you from and what you like
Right.
to read.
Yeah.
But that's how I got started.
Right.
One book at a time at a beauty shop, barbershop. And I'm still that same dude. So
I need a
yeah.
pearl of wisdom from you.
Okay. Relationship wise, life wise, what?
Whatever you want.
I will say, since we're talking about relationships, and I guess it also applies to if you want to be a novelist or a writer or a filmmaker or anything, if you want to be a painter or a
Right.
musician and you just haven't yet, and you said you were going to do it, and you promised yourself, like me in the acoustic guitar, one
Yeah.
day I
One
even bought,
day. Yeah.
yeah, I bought one and still haven't played it. What my pearl of wisdom is, decide what you want to do or be, write
Mm.
it down, and put a date on it because writing it down makes it real, and
It
then post it up.
solidifies it, doesn't it? It
It
solidifies
does.
it.
Post it up next to your, or put it on your mirror, or post it up in the kitchen, or wherever you spend a lot of time, or pass several times a day. Write it down. I want to be a novelist, and you write down the date it should take you to finish. And every time you look at it, you're getting close to that date that you haven't started or you don't have milestones. You're either going to want to snatch it down or you're going to get started.
Yeah.
That's it. If you want to be in a healthy
Write it
relationship,
down, make it plain.
yeah, if you want to be in a healthy relationship, but
Yeah.
you're not meeting the kind of guys that you want to meet, or the guys that you like aren't approaching you that way, you get to decide what things will I do differently that might change that, and write that down and write a date that you plan on making changes by.
Thank you, Victor McGlothin. It's so nice to see you again. And as we all know, when the lights go out and the cell phone towers go down, all you have left is a flashlight and a good book. Thank you very much, everybody. Good night.
Hallelujah and amen.